I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Tolan, who's a staff biologist with the Vermont Center for Ecostudies. Kevin is going to share some of the work of VCE and how conservationists can get involved in the work. So I'll hand it over to you, Kevin.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. Beautiful day, and thanks for taking the time to listen to us talk a bit. I'm going to share my screen real quick. See if that goes. Oh, nope, wrong screen. Sorry. Cool. That looks better. Well, if you're not familiar with Vermont Center for Ecostudies, we are a research nonprofit headquartered in White River Junction. We primarily focus on pollinator and amphibian research, but a lot of birds as well. And I'm just going to get right into talking about what I want to talk about because I got a lot to cover. Vernal pools are where a lot of our amphibians breed. They're usually seasonal depressions in the forest. And then they also don't have a permanent inlet or outlet. So that prevents fish from getting established and breeding there. Because of this, they provide excellent breeding habitat for some of our species. When they fill in the spring, they'll become anywhere from half a foot to like over a meter deep. So they can be some really large ones. And they just kind of look like these mud pits in the woods filled with mosquito larvae, but I like to think of them as like the coral reef of the forest. They are very small areas with a huge outsized impact on the surrounding landscape. This is a photo or an illustration that I really love that just shows some of the diversity that we have in our pools. Wood ducks will breed near them, wood frog, spotted salamander, blue spotted salamander, fairy shrimp. And the process of sun going to algae, going to aquatic wildlife, going to terrestrial wildlife doesn't occur in our forests without vernal pools. And from this diagram on the right, you can also see it's a very complicated interwoven food chain. So a lot of times you'll have wood frogs that will breed in a vernal pool. There'll be thousands of them. They'll disperse around the landscape, and with them they bring nutrients, they bring food, they just bring the sun's energy to the terrestrial landscape. One issue we have with vernal pools is that they are so small, so they are really easily destroyed. And in this image, you can see in the center, this dark section. This is the color infrared image, so it's really just showing the chlorophyll in plants. So this red area is all coniferous forest. This is taking the winter. The area without any red is deciduous forest. There's no leaves. And this dark mark here is a telltale signal for a vernal pool, just a depression that probably has some water and is reflecting this image. But because it's so small, you go look a couple of years later, and there's a house built over it. It's really easy to do that, whether it's inadvertent or just someone not caring. And the only way to really protect these and enforce any of the laws we have to protect them is to make sure we have them mapped. We have to know where they are, and we have to have proof that they were there. Just some quick background info on vernal pool management. This is a 400-foot radius buffer around the vernal pool, and this is what we call the vernal pool life zone. This is where most of the individuals will spend their entire adult life. So we recommend in the vernal pool, don't do anything. Just leave it as it is. Don't put any machinery in it. Don't add any wood to it. In the 100 feet surrounding the vernal pool, try and keep any disturbance to a minimum. So in theory, 75% canopy cover, but ideally you would do nothing. And then in the next 300 feet of buffer, keep around a half, about 50% canopy cover. And that's important to maintain like a soil moisture that these amphibians can use when they're on the land. Because they only spend about 2% of their life above ground, maybe 5% at most. They are mostly underground. The one time we do see them is during the breeding season. And this is going to be another issue that we have with vernal pools, is that we keep building roads where the vernal pools are near. And so it's not just the vernal pool that's getting destroyed. It's also the amphibians that are migrating to and from the vernal pool each year. So if you have a vernal pool 50 meters up, 50 yards uphill is a road, and you have amphibians overwintering over the road, you're going to see a lot of mortality. And when you have a vernal pool mapped, you can use that to model where these crossings are to prioritize conservation and potentially future infrastructure projects. And this is a really exciting study published this year from UVM, from my old professor and a friend and a colleague, that there's a wildlife crossing in Moncton, and before and after there was an 80% decrease in the number of amphibian mortality. And that's huge, obviously. Even like 5 cars a minute can cause like a 50% population decline. So cars are really damaging to these species that breed in the vernal pools. And if we have pools mapped, in theory, we can put in road crossings when it's time to do road repairs, which is great for amphibians, but also all wildlife. And so I'll finally get to what I'm here to talk about mostly is the Vernal Pool Atlas. This is a joint project with Vermont Fish and Wildlife aimed at just that, trying to map all the pools in the state. Vernal pools are only really present for a couple months in the year, or when they have tadpoles and salamander larvae in them. So it's a fast and furious few months to get these things mapped. So our hope is that with this Vernal Pool Atlas, we can crowdsource data from vernal pools that maybe you know of on your land or your town forest or anywhere that you might know of them. So I'm going to go right in and just do a quick demo of it so people can at least get a sense of how it works and see what it has to offer and see if it might be something you're interested in participating in. So when you first open up the website, it's vpatlas.org. You'll see this homepage, lovely photo, and you see a map of all the pools. What I usually do is up here on the left, I just click View Pools, and that brings you to a full screen image of all the pools. You'll see there's 3 colors. The dark blue ones, I'll make the sizes bigger. These dark blue ones are confirmed vernal pools. That means that they have landowner data, landowner permission to map the pool, and proof of or evidence of amphibian breeding. When they are added to these pools and confirmed, they're also added to the state wetland inventory, and so also the planning atlas and all that stuff. So if you want to get your pool added to a wetland inventory of the state to make sure that your town's pools are conserved and developers know where they are, this is a way that you can do that. The orange pools are mostly remote sensed using satellite images. So with those pools, they could be there, they could not be. It could have been like a shadow cast from a rock. So if you have a lot of these orange dots, that's a site you can go out to, you can visit, and then if there is a pool, you can say yes and say, how big it is and what wildlife's breeding there. And if it's not, you can also say no, and that will be very beneficial for us to know, so we don't spend more time looking for it, and so we can try and improve our model for future vernal pools. And then the light blue ones are mostly from towns that did inventories before this was started. And so they're not confirmed because we don't have associated landowner data, but they are likely or probable, as we put it. So I'll give one example down here in Dummerston. You see that there is only a couple confirmed pools, but a ton of probable pools. That's because in Dummerston, they did an inventory. They submitted their vernal pools to us, but because we didn't have landowner permission, we can't officially add them to the database. So I'll zoom in on Dummerston, use that as a case study. Over here on the right side, we have some different layers you can use. I usually just use the Google satellite images. Another really nice one is the VCGI CIR. This is that color infrared imagery that can let you see vernal pools down on the ground, especially in areas where there's no canopy cover. but I'll go back to Google satellites for now, and I might make these just a little bit smaller. One of the other great things we've done is added a bunch of different boundaries you can do. So say you want to look at your town boundary because you just want to know, I'm only looking in Dummerston. Great, cool. Now you can also use the parcel boundary. If you hit both town boundary and parcel boundary and click in it, you'll have all those parcels pop up of who is the landowner or the taxpayer for said parcel. Um, so I'm not going to hover any right now. I don't want to, show anyone's personal info. But if you were to hover over this box here, I almost did. I might have. Sorry. But if you were to hover over these, it would say the name of the person and in some towns their address. So this would be really great of like, oh, I don't know if this is on someone's land, but they're my friend and it looks like it's near them. You can use this layer to actually get a sense of if the pool is on the property or not. And then I'm going to turn off the parcel boundary just to not have that show up. Say you want to see what's been observed at a vernal pool in the past. You can go click the pool here, view visit, and you'll see this pool was last visited back in theory before 2012. I think that's just a broad date, just 2012 or before. When they went, because it wasn't done with our protocol, this is from a past inventory, we don't have all the info. But you can see here they saw 25 wood frogs. So if you're a landowner or if that's a public piece of land, you could submit data from it and be like, I visited this pool. Here's the landowner, and here is the amphibian eggs I found. You can do that via the website. If you go to add data, hit add data, and then I'll just use my junk login. You can go and say right here, this pool was not mapped, and then zoom in and say, that's the pool I found, and it's KWN 116. So it's just a very useful, hopefully user-friendly, we're still working on that a bit, way to submit data from your town if you're so interested. I think these are great for conservation commissions because it's a great group activity, or it's something that you can do because you're out hiking and you stumble across a vernal pool. I'm also hoping to do maybe some workshops with some groups this year. I think I'm in the talks of doing an Addison County area workshop, maybe for anyone that's interested in learning more about the process and the egg mass ID. And I'd be happy to talk further about maybe coming out with your commission, or ideally if we have a couple commissions come together for a day. I'd love to do that. I'll just stop now. I'm going to share my screen that just has the links and info on it. But I hope I am right on time, and I hope I didn't go too fast. And if there's any questions, email me. I'm happy to Zoom sometime in this off season so that we're ready to go and hit the ground come March and April once amphibians start moving.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, and so for folks, Kevin's going to share his screen, I think, but we can share all of these slides after the fact, so you can have access to these links.
Yep.
Kevin, there was a question in the chat. Karen McKnight's asking if there's a link between the Vernal Pool Atlas and the work and database created by Jim Andrews.
It's slightly different data. We have gotten data from him based on the vernal pools that he's documented, but because that's more presence absence data of individuals and we're looking more at like the community scale, the type of data we're collecting is a bit different. But if you went to go look at those KWN pools, the light blue ones, a bunch of those did come from the Atlas when we were originally collating data. So the answer is yes, but also it's slightly different.
Great, that's helpful. So I suspect there might be some conservation commissions or groups of conservation commissions interested in doing a workshop with you. So should they reach out to you, the contact email here, or reach out to you directly?
Yeah, reach out to VP Atlas at vtecostudies.org. I have a colleague, Dana, that helps me keep all of my community science stuff, and she'd be helping probably plan some of the stuff and coming on out too. And that's of course also an email I have access to. So just for my own sanity to keep everything in one place, I appreciate that. But if you do email me personally at ktolan@vtecostudies.org, that totally fine as well. Or if any other questions, I'm an email away. I'm always happy to chat.
Great. Well, if folks have other questions for Kevin, feel free to throw them in the chat. But Kevin, thanks so much for the presentation. Really exciting way to think about expanding, the role of citizen science and the role of conservation commissions in supporting the Vernal Pool Atlas.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.